Have you ever heard about the tense standoff between Thailand and Cambodia to neighboring countries in Southeast Asia? It's a story filled with ancient temples, disputed borders, and soldiers caught in the crossfire. Today, we're diving deep into a specific, high-stakes chapter of this long-running dispute. The time when Thailand captured and refused to immediately release Cambodian soldiers. Why did this happen? Was it legal? And what did it reveal about the complex relationship between these two nations? Let's break down this fascinating legal and political battle. To understand this story, we first need to go back in time, way back, to an incredible place called the Priya Vihira Temple, perched on a dramatic cliff in the Dangrak Mountains. This stunning Hindu temple dates back to the 11th century. For generations, both Thailand and Cambodia have laid claim to it, not just for its historical and cultural significance, but for the land surrounding it. The temple itself became a flashpoint. In 1962, the International Court of Justice, the UN's highest court, made a landmark ruling. It decided that the Priya Vihira Temple belonged to Cambodia. This decision was based on a map created in the early 1900s during the French colonial period, which placed the temple on the Cambodian side of the border. Thailand, while disappointed, was expected to comply with the ruling. However, the court's decision was very specific. It was about the temple itself, the surrounding land. That was a whole different and much murkier issue. The border in the area remained poorly defined and contested, creating a recipe for future conflict. Fast forward to the 21st century. Tensions flared up again in 2008 when Cambodia successfully applied to have Priya Vihira listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This move reignited nationalist sentiments in Thailand. Protests erupted, and both countries began to build up their military presence along the disputed border near the temple. The situation became a powder keg. Soldiers from both sides were stationed face to face, sometimes just meters apart. It was in this incredibly tense environment that several clashes occurred between 2008 and 2011. During these skirmishes, soldiers from both sides were occasionally captured, and this is where our main question comes in. Why did Thailand refuse to just hand the Cambodian soldiers back? From a purely humanitarian perspective, you might think a simple soldier swap would be the quickest solution, but it's never that simple. This is where international law and domestic politics collide. Let's look at Thailand's legal argument. When the Cambodian soldiers were captured on what Thailand considered its sovereign territory, they weren't treated as prisoners of war in a traditional sense. Why? Because Thailand and Cambodia were not officially in a declared war. Instead, Thailand viewed the captured soldiers as individuals who had illegally entered the country. Therefore, they were subject to Thai domestic law, specifically immigration and trespassing laws. Think of it this way. From the Thai perspective, these weren't enemy combatants in a declared war. They were foreign nationals who had crossed the border illegally, while armed. Under this legal framework, they had to go through the Thai justice system. This meant being arrested, charged, and potentially tried in a Thai court. Releasing them without this process would be, in the eyes of Thai legal authorities, a failure to uphold their own laws. It set a precedent that anyone could cross the border illegally and face no consequences, as long as they were in a uniform. So, the first major reason was the application of domestic law. Thailand asserted its sovereignty in the jurisdiction of its legal system over anyone apprehended within the borders it claimed. It was a powerful statement. This is our land, and our laws apply here. Now, let's switch gears and talk about politics, because this was just as important, if not more so. The Priya Vihira issue was, and still is, a deeply political and emotional topic in Thailand. At the time of the conflict, Thai politics were highly polarized. Nationalist groups, often known as the Yellow Shirts, were a powerful force. They used the border dispute to rally support, accusing the government of the day of being too soft on Cambodia and of failing to protect Thai sovereignty. For any Thai government in power, appearing weak on the Priya Vihira issue was political suicide. Releasing the Cambodian soldiers immediately without any conditions could have been portrayed by their political opponents as a sign of capitulation. It would look like they were giving in to Cambodian pressure. So, holding on to the soldiers became a political tool. It was a way for the government to show its domestic audience that it was being tough, that it was standing up for Thailand's national interests and defending its territory. The soldiers, unfortunately, became pawns in a much larger political chess game. Their release wasn't just a simple administrative decision, it became a bargaining chip. Negotiations for their freedom were tied to broader political discussions between the two governments. Thailand could use their detention to try and gain concessions from Cambodia on other aspects of the border dispute, or to simply score political points at home. Furthermore, there's the element of reciprocity. In these border skirmishes, it wasn't just Cambodians being captured. Thai soldiers and civilians were also sometimes detained by Cambodia. When this happened, a tit-for-tat situation often developed. Thailand would hold on to Cambodian soldiers, partly as leverage to ensure the safe and swift return of its own citizens. It created a tense cycle of captures and negotiations, where each side's actions were heavily influenced by the others. So, to summarize what we've covered so far, Thailand's refusal to release the Cambodian soldiers was driven by two main factors. Legally, it was about asserting national sovereignty and applying domestic trespassing and immigration laws. Politically, it was a way to appease nationalist sentiment at home, project an image of strength, and use the soldiers as bargaining chips in the ongoing dispute. The situation eventually de-escalated, often through high-level diplomatic intervention. The captured soldiers were usually released after a period of detention and negotiation, sometimes after going through a brief legal process. In 2011, after another request from Cambodia, the International Court of Justice stepped in again. It ordered both countries to withdraw their military personnel from a newly created provisional demilitarized zone around the temple, a move that helped to significantly cool down the armed conflict. This story of the captured soldiers is a powerful case study in how international disputes are rarely just about lines on a map. They are a complex mix of history, law, national pride, and domestic politics. The soldiers on the front lines, on both sides, are the ones who bear the immediate human cost of these larger political battles. Their detention highlights the real-world consequences when diplomacy fails and nationalism takes over. It's a reminder that behind the headlines and the legal arguments, there are always human beings caught in the middle. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into a really complex piece of Southeast Asian history and politics. It's a fascinating topic with so many layers. If you found this interesting, please give this video a thumbs up. And do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next exploration. What other international disputes would you like to understand better? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.